Welcome, welcome, welcome. Currently live on YouTube. So we're going to get straight into the analysis today because I think we've got some very interesting things happening on the charts within crypto news, crypto Twitter, crypto life, crypto. So I'll give it a few more minutes just to let everybody come on, and then we'll start going through some of the things that are on the cards today. Obviously, the biggest news at the moment is, CFTC, SEC, sort of going after Binance. There's a little bit of confusion there, which I think is going to cause some interesting scenarios to unfold because the SEC considers everything a security because that's just what they do. And the CFTC have already said, years ago, that there are certain cryptocurrencies, including Binance, and the exchange and what happens on the exchange, that are classed as commodities. So there's this kind of back and forth. And there are, rumors that the CFTC have basically withdrawn this so-called lawsuit, or whatever it is that they're trying to do. And it was just kind of a ruse to just point at the SEC and say, look, we've already said it's a commodity. Just chill out, relax. So some interesting news, some interesting times. But I think with all of that said, the main and most important thing is what is going to happen, right? To Bitcoin, Binance, all of the usual suspects. So we'll do a quick analysis. And obviously, I am going to be poking fun, a lot of these Muppets on Twitter because they post these absolutely insane tweets. And they have absolutely no value. They're saying Bitcoin's bullish, Bitcoin's bearish. It's all in the same breath. It's all in the same tweet. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. When you're looking at the 1 hour chart, sure, you know what I mean? You can say, and here's my point, right? If price was going up, we're bullish. We get a breakdown, we're bearish. Price retraces, it's very strong, it's bullish. It's extremely bullish. Then it comes all the way back down, it breaks down again, bearish. Now we've seen a couple of hourly green candles. Now we're bullish again. This is absurd. This is absolute madness, right? We need to focus on the higher time frames. Where we know we've had a really nice strong impulse on the weekly. And until this is reversed and taken out, we're not coming anywhere near 20K. We're going to hover around here and we'll probably get that second impulse to the upside and finally get to 30,000. Now you guys know my stance on this. I still believe that we are headed for a pretty nasty crash at some point. And that's got nothing to do, with bearish or bullish. That is pure manipulation. I think that's going to happen. I think it's coming. As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing going to stop it. It is what it is, right? But with that said, you have to be objective about your analysis. You can't just say, well, I'm bearish and I'm going to remain bearish forever. Sometimes you've got to say, okay, I am bearish overall, but right now, Bitcoin's showing signs of life. Yeah. So we have to, be objective about that. We've got to trade accordingly. We've got to invest accordingly. So Bitcoin not doing too bad. Binance obviously is taking the blunt, of what's happening recently. But again, it's still holding pretty well around about sort of 311. I think because there's so many people, right, that have seen this constant FUD and attack of Binance over and over and over and over again. Anything that's said now is kind of taken with a pinch of salt. And I think that's what's happening here. With Binance, we're still within this broad range consolidation. We had a pop with the rest of the market. And obviously, we're getting a couple of weeks, of downside this week here. The first week, that one right here, the first of the two red candles, that was last week. There was no issue. This week's candle is effectively being driven by, this recent, this recent SEC and, CFTC thing. So, and let me just find the right chart. So we saw what happened here. Obviously, the news hit. Binance is getting, sued, whatever, violation, or regulatory violations, blah, blah, blah. They're saying that CZ's basically been trading with over 300, accounts internally, so again, whether that carries any weight, who knows? We'll see as this kind of unfolds. But ultimately, that's what we're seeing here. And again, just kind of stabilizing now. I think basically everybody's just waiting to see what happens and how this unfolds. But people aren't taking it seriously, and maybe they should be, maybe they shouldn't. I don't know. But because people aren't taking it that seriously, we're not seeing the effects of that on the chart, right? And then the rest of what's happening, I mean, Ethereum, I think Ethereum at some point, because before I say what I'm about to say, you have to understand something, right? My stance on this has always been the same, right? I'm just really blunt and I'm really patient with my analysis, right? I believe in years to come that Ethereum is going to be a disaster, right? Everything that they've done up to this point, right, has been either one of two things: mistake after mistake after mistake, or it's been in line with trying to have a network that is compliant, that can be. So kind of the founders of Ethereum might be saying, we know regulations coming, we know this is going to be a problem, right? So we may as well create a network that is OFAC compliant. So when the time comes where institutional money starts to come into the cryptocurrency market, we're going to be front and center, as that choice, right, to build on. That may be what's happening with Ethereum. But me personally, I think with everything that they do and the way that they do it, it's absolutely insane. The gas fees have always been high. Nothing's fixed that yet. They say they're going to fix it with all of the sharding. I don't think they will. And all of these updates that they do just seem to make it worse and worse and worse. So, who knows, right? What else have we got on the card? Somebody asked me to talk about CHSB, so I'll just quickly go over this. I mean, this is SwissBorg's native token, for those that don't know, right? And SwissBorg is a fintech company. It's an exchange, and it is a Swiss-based company. And the like my take on SwissBorg has always been positive. Always, I've met the founders, I know them. There's a great bunch of people over there. They're doing amazing jobs, and the company itself is solid, right? The company has always shone through when it comes to some of the craziness that happens within cryptocurrency. And that is a testament to the founders themselves. They're really, really down to earth and they really care. All right. There's absolutely no question about that. Like I said, I've shook these people's hands. I've given them hugs. They're really, 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 really good people. Right. But that doesn't change. And just give me 1 second. Excuse me. That doesn't change what's happening on the chart, right? Because we have to remain objective. So we're seeing a bit of a downturn, obviously, with the remainder of the market, and market's going down. There's a lot of uncertainty at the moment. Obviously, Credit Suisse, which is in Switzerland, a lot of problems over there. They have no exposure to any of that stuff. But I'm just saying, there's a lot happening over in Switzerland at the moment. And then obviously in Europe with Deutsche Bank and some of these other issues. So it is expected that we're going to get a little bit more downside. And I do believe that we're going to end up around about 11 cents. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is absolutely 1000% not financial advice. But this is a level that I've been watching for a very, very long time. Yeah, this level has been on my chart for a very long time. And if we get anywhere near there, then I'm going to be doing something about it, basically. So, SwissBorg, solid. At some point, I mean, last year or the year before, I think it was a couple of years ago, I was calling for 197. We came very close, but I did call 197 after this happened because I was expecting that third impulse to the upside. It never happened. And then obviously we had this crash. I sat through all of this. I was in their Discord while this was happening. Which is very interesting. And thankfully, I managed to keep a lot of people in CHSB at the time because a lot of people were kind of, sort of panic selling and trying to get out quickly. This was, the Bitcoin crash that happened. And that's what kind of sparked this off, and then ultimately we, recovered and they released an NFT, which I actually still have that NFT. It is I can tell you right now, actually, it is a back to $1 NFT. Where is it? There we go. And actually, I'm one of the very few people that has a rare, very rare NFT from SwissBorg. And for some reason, engine seemed, there we go. Yeah, they seem to have changed all of their stuff here. Yeah, I've got the I don't know if you guys will be able to see this actually. Let me see on my screen. I have this is the this is the gold. This was back in 2021 because I attended live. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but this is the NFT. I attended live. So this is the gold NFT. There's only 100 of these ever minted, which is pretty cool. But yeah, this was the CHSB hits $1 again NFT. And again, I'm sorry if you can't really see that very well. But yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool, to be honest. But the point I'm trying to make is it hit $1 again, and then obviously it subsided from there, and it's been just grinding low ever since. And that's got nothing to do with the company itself, because they've been doing very well. It is purely down to, you know, the current market conditions. Now, what's interesting about SwissBorg is I'll say it like this, right? And let me just kind of take a step back for a second. The thing about SwissBorg is if you go back 2 years and you see like Evergrow, they launched, did really, really well, obviously, on their launch, and it was explosive movement, and it's obviously the one that got most of the attention. And then from that point onwards, there was this kind of influx of project after project after project, releasing, and all of this stuff that they were talking about, you know, launch pads, NFT marketplaces, all of this stuff, right, has already been done by SwissBorg. Like, not necessarily the NFT marketplace, but everything that SwissBorg is doing is like so far ahead of the curve, and they absolutely dwarf all of these projects, you know, combined. And it's funny because there's not a lot of people that know about SwissBorg per se, because it is a European-based company as opposed to being a US-based company, or that does business in the US. And I think that's part of the reason why not a lot of people understand or know about SwissBorg or what it is that they're trying to do. But they everything that they're doing, their launchpad, which is not what you think. It's not like, you know, the launchpad like you know, Pink Sale or something like that, or whatever Reflex tried to do, which is basically just a copy and paste of somebody else's white label solution. But their launchpad is effectively the ability to be able to get first dibs at projects that they have vetted, they have invested in, they are, you know, 100% behind, and so on. That goes on the launchpad, and then obviously you're in a position to be able to take advantage of that depending on what premium you have. It's a complete wealth solution. If you use it properly, it's pretty amazing. So definitely worth checking them out. If you are not in the US and you like the ability to be able to control your cryptocurrency. And on a quick side note, they are also using the security package that we have purchased for Rematic Finance. So solid, absolutely solid. So that's SwissBorg and CHSB. Of the positions that I've got open, so you guys know, obviously, I'm doing this experiment, right? I've got a position open on Bitcoin. I've got a position open on Binance, DOT, SHIB, and XRP. Of those, XRP is the one that's doing really well. And I'll just quickly tell you, you know, if you look at the weekly chart here, you know, I purchased basically where this red line is at 46, I believe it was, you know, and I've had a really nice sort of run, you know, to 50. I do believe we're going to probably keep grinding to around about 55. Then it's going to ease off. I'll consider taking it off at that point. You know, I'm not looking to basically be a hero, you know, with some of these positions. But yeah, that's just a quick update on that. The whole position, you know, in terms of portfolio is pretty much at break even now, you know, so XRP is basically keeping everything else at, you know, at break even. Bitcoin's holding well. Binance has obviously staved off a little bit, and DOT's holding well as well. And SHIB isn't pretty much doing anything. So that's a quick update on that side of the house. I'll be doing a podcast in the next couple of days as well, you know, with the gents, and I'll do a more in-depth update as well, going over the portfolio. And with all of that said, that's pretty much a quick update. Expect anything all the time. Yeah, with crypto, that's the key phrase. Expect anything and everything all the time. All right, have a plan, know what it is that you're doing. Don't over exert yourself in crypto. Be mindful of some of these things that are happening. Stay on top of the, you know, the news. Stay on top of the crypto Twitter side of things, and learn to separate the crap from what's actually happening within crypto. And always check the date of the post that you're reading on Twitter. If you go through, you'll see, like Watch a Guru, for example, it will say just in, and then you know, it will list some news. But then when you do a little bit of digging, you know, it was released 5 days ago, or, you know, 3 days ago. So that's really important. I know it's a subtle thing, but be mindful of that, because a lot of people, they get blindsided by these Twitter posts, and then they start frantically looking at their positions thinking, well, why isn't anything moving? Well, it was because it was months ago, weeks ago, 24 hours ago, 3 days ago, whatever. So just be mindful of this, yeah, because the way that Twitter's working now in terms of following and for you, the for you is just got loads of stuff on there that's basically from any old time, you know. So it needs to be I think modified, but you also need to be careful what you're reading on Twitter. And yeah, that's it. So if anybody's got any questions, I'm going to be around for a little while. Happy to go through anything that you guys want to go through. And if I find some time later, I might put out a more sort of in-depth review. I think what I might start doing as well, and this is not a plug for Patreon. You guys know I've had that Patreon for years. It's just there. I don't, whatever. And I'm very grateful for people that, that sign up. There's like so many videos on there in terms of education and everything else. But what I wanted to do was I want to create a situation where some of the more in-depth analysis videos, right, are posted on Patreon. I'm not saying you have to pay for anything like that. I want to put it on there, right? But I don't know how their follow system works. And I was looking into this the other day because I don't want to put these more in-depth videos on YouTube because they don't get seen. They go on YouTube and then they just get buried because they're really long form. Some people find them boring. There's no real sort of value in the sense of it. The algorithm or the recommendation system triggers and then off it goes. People don't share them. So I'm thinking if I can build up a stronger following on Patreon, and I think there's an option where you can basically follow just like you would on a normal social media account. I want to ideally start to slowly move everything over to Patreon, right? So I can use their streaming system. I can use the video system, which basically allows me to post videos on there without having to embed a link. So it goes directly onto the Patreon platform. Before, you had to have an account with Vimeo, whatever it's called, a premium account, and then you could basically upload to Vimeo. That gets connected to Patreon, and then people can't share your videos or anything like that, which is amazing. But it's expensive. It is very, very expensive. You've got to pay for the amount or size of the videos and how much you upload and all of this sort of stuff. Whereas Patreon has basically changed everything, and they're aggressively implementing new things now. Where if we can have everything all in one place, it would be perfect. I can do streams over there. We can do chats over there. It connects to Discord. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So I'll see how that goes. But the point and the reason that I mentioned that is if you get a chance, just quickly go over to the Patreon. I think the link's below and there's a follow button. So click on the follow button. And if you guys can do me a favor, I'm going to post a video in the next 2-3 days, right? It'll be free. It'll be like, I'm not going to attach it to anything. I'm just going to post the video and I'm going to ask if it shows up. So if you get an email letting you know, right, that somebody you're following on Patreon shows up basically. And if it does, then brilliant. That means it's going to be perfect for something else that I've got planned, over the next sort of 2-3 months. Yeah, appreciate it, Shane. Like, listen, again, I don't plug. I to be fair, look, somebody asked me about this ages ago, and and you know what? To be honest, I should plug it because it's amazing. There's over 170 videos on there, educational videos, but it makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, I don't know, I've always been like that. January the 15th, 2022, right? I posted, that was last year. That's over a year and 3 months. For a year and 4 months, I've just posted one post about Patreon because everybody was emailing me saying, can you do this? Do you mind helping me out? And it was driving me nuts. I was like, I just couldn't keep up with it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to direct everybody to Patreon. If anybody wants to learn, then that's down to them, right? And I'm always posting on there 2, 3, 4 videos a month, when I get the chance to. It's really, really cheap, and I just left it there, and since then, I don't talk about it. The link's in the description. If anybody wants to do it, fine, whatever. And in fact, the people that are in the Patreon talk about it more than I do. But the point I'm trying to make is, for me, it's more the services that they do. They never used to do these, right? And going back 2 years, I know we're going completely off topic for a second, but about not 2 years, about a year and a bit ago, right? There was this creator thing that was going to be released. And for those of you that were around with the whole Evergrow creator thing, that was going to be released. If you guys remember, I was supposed to get first dibs on, beta testing, all of that good stuff, right? Which never happened. And I think there was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of misunderstandings. There were some things posted that made no sense. And then ultimately Creator was put on the back burner and then they focused on the NFT marketplace, right? And when I was looking into what Creator was supposed to be, I was like, this is great. This is amazing, right? Because, Evergrow already has a huge amount of people, right, that are already part of their ecosystem. So if they do release Creator and then they do some advertising and it is as good as they say it's going to be, that's a really, really perfect place for me to be, for the type of content that I want to deliver, right? And I was really looking forward to that. And I honestly believed, I was like, that was going to solve all of my problems, that I could have left work, You know, I could have been in a position to be able to really start to push my social awareness, to really, push the monetary side of things, be fair with everybody, gain a little bit of crypto as well, and then produce amazing content for people to learn and to go through this kind of whole process. And it never happened. But then as time went by, I contacted Patreon and I was like, look, you guys have got some amazing potential, but everything's broken on your, on your platform. Stuff just doesn't work properly. Things are really, really slow. The app doesn't update properly and so on, all of this stuff. The last year, and it's not just because of my feedback. I imagine there's loads of people that give them feedback. They've nailed it. They've absolutely nailed it. Their tier system's so much better now. The way that they function is so much better now. You can follow properly now. You can post videos now without having to embed videos. So the first bunch of videos right on my Patreon channel, because I had to delete all the previous content. There was over 400 videos on my Patreon. I deleted all of that because it was about Forex, and then I restarted again with crypto. And I had some Forex and a few bits and bobs in there as well. But the first bunch of videos are all embedded, YouTube embeds, right? Which means people can share the content, but it's an unlisted video. The new videos, now I have an allocation of X amount of hours that I'm able to upload them, because I've been with Patreon for so long. That can be updated for free. I can get as many hours as I want. It's amazing. So their platform's brilliant, and it does streaming. They do messaging. They do broadcast. They do, this is very similar to, I'd say, Instagram Reels, something similar to that, and they kind of delete afterwards, and it's really cool. So I really want to start to use Patreon and the power of Patreon to be able to start to deliver some of the content I want to deliver and have it all housed in one place. Because I'll be honest with you, I think YouTube's I don't want to say a scam, but I think YouTube can be very, very challenging. Their algorithm, and it's not, let me be really clear. It's not that YouTube's a scam. Their algorithm is so perfect now that it's too good. I think that's what's happened. Their algorithm, the algorithm or the recommendation system is so good. It's got to the point where it's just recommending in such a precise and clinical way that your content has to really hit home with somebody. And if it doesn't, forget it. Your video just gets buried, basically. And my intention was always to have a media company. That's what LSP TV was all about, originally. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating because there's so much that I want to do online, and I just don't have the means. And then obviously with what happened with RFTX, it's kind of put me back a little bit. So just kind of going around this circle, trying to find the sweet spot and then really, really push. DK Rob, never trust a Sam in crypto. Are you saying any Sam? As in like a Sam, a person called Sam, or Sam himself? I'll just quickly say I've got no issues, either way. I must say I'm very lucky to have come across your Discord and Patreon. The learning I'm getting from Patreon Viz is second to none. Yeah, I appreciate that, Reese. Thanks, man. Listen, I believe that the content's very, very good. It's not, in some respects, some of the content isn't new per se. The perception is there. When you listen to one of these videos or some of the content that I'm talking about, even in the videos, like even in this live, the way that I view price, is very psychological, and there's not many people that look at it that way. They're always looking for patterns. They're always looking for things to happen. And I can solidify that with two charts. You look at Binance like this, right? Binance is in a broad range consolidation, right? It's bouncing up and down between this, and it popped out here and then it came back in. The moment this happened, when we look at it in hindsight now, we know, right, that this was a failed breakout. Now that's very easy to see in hindsight. It's just a failed breakout. But the lead up to this, right, there was a few clues to be able to say, okay, it's very unlikely that this is going to continue. If you look at the fundamentals of the market, if you look at the way that price is moving, if you look at the pickups of buy side, if you look at the stop runs, if you look at the way, this low was put in, this low was put in, it's very unlikely that this is going to continue. It's probably going to come straight back into the consolidation, which it did. Being able to see that in real time, that's the trick. That's what trading and investing is really all about. Being able to do that in real time. Most people can't because they're always looking at all the wrong things. Not to say that I'm any better. But I'm very good at reading charts, very, very good at reading charts. I mean, I've made that blatantly clear now at this point. There's nobody that can look at me or watch any of my videos and say you've been wrong so many times or more often than not. I've got a 95% plus batting average when it comes to the information that I present. So, it's there's nothing we can do with this chart. But then when we go over to Bitcoin, in terms of psychology and the way that people think, right? You look at the way Bitcoin's impulsed on this last week and the fact that it's holding up here, that's showing a little bit of strength. Then you look at the fundamentals, then you look at some of the numbers, then you look at the lack of liquidity, then you look at some of these other things that are happening, and the way that the Bitcoin's price is basically being propped up by larger institutions, not say institutions, larger investors, as opposed to it being held up by retail investors, right? Or a momentum of flow of income, right? Coming into Bitcoin. And what makes it worse as well is that somebody messaged me the other day, said, have you seen, Michael Saylor's bought X amount of Bitcoin? Yeah, that's great. Why isn't Bitcoin moving then? Because it's an OTC sale. It's being purchased off book. It's not being purchased through an exchange. It's basically it's just purely an OTC sale. So it's literally like, me contacting one of you guys and saying, have you guys got any Bitcoin? Yeah, we've got 5. Can I take 2? You send me your Bitcoin and I give you the fiat currency. That is literally it. Zero effect of the chart, zero effect of price, nothing. It is an OTC sale. So we have to remember all of these things. And then when we're looking at charts, we try to get a better feel for what's happening. It's a little bit trickier in cryptocurrency because things can be manipulated heavily. In the Forex markets, a little bit more sort of fluid. You look at the chart here of the British pound USD. I'm looking at a weekly here. I can tell you, you're probably going to end up around about 123, 124, or should I say 124? The 124 handle. Why? Because we've already had a drop here. We had a run up here. It fails to take out the high. We had a drop here. People panicked. We had a run up. It reverses again. Finishes on the close, and then obviously that candle right there is basically a stop run. Takes out liquidity, takes out all stops, and then starts to grind back up to the upside. And then right there, the very fact that people were buying, and then it got rejected, and now we're still grinding upwards. This high is getting taken, and we're going straight for 124 at some point, right? Unless news hits the market and it reverses pretty aggressively. But even then, I'd still say over time, it's probably going to end up at 124. It's all psychological. Right? So, there's a lot of content on there, in terms of the Patreon. But, it's more for me being able to basically do the streams over there. And it would be better anyway, because then I don't have to have 4 or 5 different software programs, services, so on, for me to be able to do a stream, for example. And in fact, actually, the next stream that I do, I'll test out the Patreon streaming service and see if it's any good. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, sorry about that. Somebody, I thought somebody was at the door, but it might be outside at the window. I know my son's coming home early today, so I thought that might be him. So yeah, purely psychological, man. The markets are psychology, all of it from start to finish. And it's really important that we understand that. So let's go over to a refresh here. Let's take a look. Top crypto news for 2023. This is something that I've noticed, and I don't know about you guys, right? But I've noticed this is definitely the case, right? Have you guys noticed that there's been a ramp up in the last month of tech being put in different places? There's Bitcoin's being accepted in McDonald's, for example. Sorry, in Burger King in Paris. We're seeing ATM machines being put up in places that is more sort of Western society, right, or Western countries. We're seeing Hong Kong now looking to put cryptocurrency on their, on their side of things. Even though mainland China has basically banned Bitcoin, Hong Kong is still moving forward or trying to move forward with cryptocurrency, on their side, and so on and so on. We're seeing a lot more of this, which is very, very interesting, considering this aggressive push for regulation, this aggressive attack by the SEC, and this really, really strong push for CBDCs. I find it very, very interesting that there is also an equal amount, if not more, aggressive energy being put into the positive side of things as well. You've got senators, and some mayors of particular states in the US that are trying to protect Bitcoin, that are trying to protect the right to mine. That saying mining is beneficial in terms of energy efficiency and some of the way that it can basically produce heat, produce energy, and so on. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I don't know about you guys, but I've started to notice that a lot. We're waiting for a crash today. Yeah, I've said this before, and I would never want anybody to lose money. Obviously, if the markets did crash, I would be down, on some of my positions, but I would love for the markets to just full on next level capitulate. Boom, just get it out of the way. Finished, done. How you doing, big guy? You all right, mate? Rob's saying we have an ATM. We have an ATM in a gas station. Awesome. I love it. I love it. You will, if you've been following me long enough as well, you'll know that I've never been a real advocate of Bitcoin, right? I think it has its limitations. I don't think it's going to be what people think it's going to be, but everybody's, entitled to their own opinion, and everybody sees Bitcoin differently, right? But we also have to respect the fact that it is completely different. It's not the same as everything else. It's a decentralized, non-entity effectively that hasn't been created or issued by anybody. It was just brought into life, and then obviously it's mined, and these, this is where these Bitcoins come from, and it solves a lot of problems, right? But it has to be adopted. It has to be adopted, and without that, that adoption, it's very tricky. And just as a quick side note, make sure you like the stream, guys, as well, which I would really, really appreciate. It creates a little bit more awareness for the, for the recommendation system. But yeah, Bitcoin's different. Bitcoin's different, and we have to respect that. And obviously, if you can kind of take a step back and you just kind of ignore all of that rhetoric on Twitter, it's predominantly on Twitter, and some of the madness that happens on YouTube in terms of like the same people that are creating content 2 times a day. In the morning they're bearish, and in the evening they're bullish, and then the next day they're bullish, and then they're bearish again. It's complete insanity. If you can move away from that rhetoric and you can focus on the tangibles and what really matters and try and be objective about your analysis, it's very unlikely that you can't see the benefit of Bitcoin, the reality of Bitcoin, and the potential of Bitcoin going forward. And that doesn't necessarily mean there's no potential anywhere else, but it's really, really important to be able to make that distinction. And this is why seeing all of these things like ATMs, as Rob said, or seeing Bitcoin being accepted in a lot of different places, and this kind of push to protect Bitcoin, it's very interesting to see, and it's quite welcome, to be honest. I see the US trying to regulate social media companies more and more. Do you know what? It's funny you say that, because I don't think that's what's going to happen. There's been a massive shift in the way that social media and its control, right, is. Because Elon Musk bought Twitter, and there's been this kind of huge divide, especially in the US. There's been this massive divide in the US between the left and the right, Democrats, Republicans, right and wrong, whatever that means, right? Because that's subjective. And what's happened is because there's been such an aggressive push, and a lot of people, there's been this huge backlash, right, in terms of social media, how it's used, the control, and all of this stuff. You only have to have a little bit of common sense, right, and take a step back and just look at what's happened to know there was a lot of suppression on social media, not just in the last couple of years. This has been happening for many, 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 many years. So I don't think the US is going to try to regulate social media. I think they've missed the boat on that one. You guys are going to be very, very surprised with my next statement, but I actually think that the US is deliberately trying to destroy itself. It makes no sense. If you look at some of the things that the US is doing, the way that they're effectively putting themselves in a position, right, where the rest of the world is looking at them and saying, what on earth are you doing? Like, you used to be a superpower, you used to be strong. Like, why are you acting in a way that makes no sense and is not conducive to a healthy economy, a healthy, world footing, a healthy stance on, global issues. It makes no sense. Some of the stuff they're doing is absolutely insane. Crypto being one of them. Why are you attacking crypto so much? Everybody's going to leave the US and all that business goes. It's weird, man. It's very, very strange. Very, very strange. I think the US has lost a lot of power, and it's losing its grip on on what they're doing. I think it's because, which just leads to the idea of designing the internet for Web3. Yeah, Web3 is going to be interesting. I think it's because those countries understand if you can't control, use it. And not like the Fed, if you can't control, destroy it. Yeah, I agree. A lot of countries around the world, right, have decided, okay, look, we can't control cryptocurrency, right? So let's implement it in a way that is conducive to a healthy economy and that gives people the option to engage. We gain trust of the people that we're doing business with. I just need to get this, guys, 1 second. Yeah, so giving people the option to use, say, Bitcoin or use a particular cryptocurrency in a lot of different locations, creates this really nice flow of technology. People are engaging, people are learning, people are using the tech, people learn to trust it because it's coming from a much higher position, and then everybody benefits. Whereas right now, if you're a US citizen, excuse me, if you're a US citizen, you've not had a good time with stocks, you've not had a good time with Forex and the leverage side of things, you've not had a good time with crypto. It's absolutely absurd. Like, what's the point? And a lot of people will just move all of their operations, out of the US, and start to look for more crypto friendly countries and jurisdictions. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be in places like the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands and stuff like this, because a lot of countries like France, like Switzerland, like Estonia, they're accepting cryptocurrency and they're being much more fair with their regulatory compliance, which makes it so much easier to bring something to market and then really, really push it. I hope I have enough time to make coffee before it crashes. Yeah, I think you'll be all right, man. I hate TikTok. I think TikTok's an absolute joke. Isn't it really about the potential of the next improvement to the web, peer-to-peer transactions online, Web3, and a digital wallet? BTC was just the first active design. Yeah, and I think that is where, I think that's where everything's headed eventually. You can already see it now because there are some services that you can basically connect your wallet to, email services, for example. You can pay Proton Mail, which is amazing. Swiss-based company, absolutely amazing. If you don't have a Proton email, get one. They're amazing. But you can purchase a Proton subscription using cryptocurrency, and that's just a very, very small example of a lot of different services now that are offering the ability to use cryptocurrency. If you look at UTK, which is Utrust, they have payment systems that are integrated into a lot of these Web3 services. So when you basically pay for something through UTK or through the UTK wallet, for example, and I haven't looked at this for quite some time, so they've probably advanced quite a bit. But that gives you the ability to be able to use a semi-centralized wallet where your money is protected by insurance, but then the ability to be able to engage in cryptocurrency and pay for services with cryptocurrency on a Web3 platform. You look at Revolut, they're integrated into a lot of systems now as well. So there's a lot of interesting things happening. US is about to ban TikTok. Yeah, I was. You say that, right? But you know what? When you look at some of it's just ridiculous. When you look at some of the Congress or the Senate questions, I can't remember what the CEO's name is or the guy who owns it, whatever, the founder. But they were asking him questions, and it's like, come on, man. You ask somebody a question, and then you don't let them speak. The questions that you're asking are so archaic. Yeah, and clearly show that you have absolutely no understanding of the underlying technology. What do you expect? You know, and again, this is my point. It just goes to show when people are looking from the outside in at the US, they're like, what a travesty. There's no sense of understanding there at all. It's very strange. I can't. It's really hard for me to explain. Something isn't right, man. It's almost like they're trying to deliberately destroy America. You know, and the point I'm trying to make is that the Americans are doing that. The US is doing it to itself. This is what I don't understand. It makes no sense. Man, LSP TV was the place to be. I missed having you do daily price analysis, so let's do more ADA, BNB, BTC, ETH, Algo, and NEAR. I will, but you know, and nothing's changed. It'll just be on invested intelligence, and that was more of a branding change, so I can, you know, sort of create a little bit more awareness. But I will do more analysis. But somebody asked me to have a look at a particular token the other day in a DM, and I'll repeat the same thing that I said to him. The reason that I'm being very cautious about what I'm discussing right now is because people trust my analysis, right? And the reason people trust my analysis is because I'm very, very careful. I'm on point and I'm very cautious. And I always tell people, you know, to not just, this isn't financial advice, but I explain the process. I go through everything. And this is why people trust me, right? Meaning, I don't want to talk about certain tokens, even if I like them in this market condition right now, because if somebody messaged me and said, can you give me your opinion on this particular coin? Sure. I give the opinion. Then it crashes. Then the whole market crashes in 2 months' time. And that person has invested $10,000. I had no idea. And now they're sitting on, say, $2,000. They panic and they sell and they've lost 8K. And then they start firing off, you know, messages to me. Although that's not my fault, I still had some part in that, you know, and this is why I take my content very seriously. Guys, man, do you know how easy it would be for me to get 100,000 subs on YouTube? I'd just start doing stupid stuff, you know, and just talking about everything and anything. That's easy, man. Doing what I do is hard, you know, posting videos and then getting like 10, 15, 20 views, 100 views, 200 views, but it be solid information. That's hard. That's very, very hard, you know. Mentioned this before. What's your thoughts on the US going after Ledger, Trezor, etc. at some point? I mean, look, as independent companies that are providing a product that is sold to the public, they're not responsible for what the public do with that product, right? So I don't know if they even could, to be honest. The only way that they could do that is from a legal standpoint. They would say something like, you know, the product that you have designed allows people to get into an extremely risky asset, yeah, and you're putting people at risk. To which Ledger or Trezor could turn around and say, well, no, we're just offering custody solutions. Yeah, it's a custodial solution. It's got nothing to do. We have absolutely no interest in what anybody does with, you know, their crypto. We're just offering a custody solution. So they're going to find it very, very difficult to go after Ledger and Trezor, you know, or some of these cold wallet solutions, to be honest. It's the wrong generation. They didn't have technology at birth. It's going to be a while before they're taken seriously. Yeah, and you're going back to the kind of Senate and the TikTok thing. Yeah, you know, and until some sort of younger blood starts to get into some of these sort of large institutions and regulatory bodies and government, you know, areas, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to kind of cycle through. We're going through that pain cycle now, you know, where the old generation doesn't want to let go. The new generation is pushing forward. And, you know, everybody's kind of in the middle battling it out. It's a bit crazy. Is it possible the tech industry, with all the money paying for fair legislation, rather than it being organically decided based on experience with technology? Let me read that again. Is it possible the tech industry, with all the money paying for fair legislation, rather than it being organically decided based on experience with technology? Yeah, it is possible, but the question is, will they do that? You know, that would be like saying to Apple, can you pay for the legislation and then them being fair about it? I would find that very, very, I don't think they would do that, you know, because if you have some of these larger tech companies basically paying for legislation, which they don't, they pay for lobbying, right? So they don't get things. push through, and then they can continue to do the things that they want to do. But let's say you've got 5 tech giants that are paying for legislation, then they're going to have a large say, in how that legislation is put into place and what it contains and the wording and so on. And they will make sure that it benefits them. So definitely something to be mindful of. I don't, again, sometimes we sit down and we're like, yeah, do you know what? Why don't they do this? Or why don't they try this? Or if I was there, I would do this, and da 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 da. But then when you follow it to its conclusion, it's actually not as easy as we say. For anybody that still believes fiat money has any value, for example, it's very hard to get them to understand that there is no fiat money. They're all digits on a screen. It's all fabricated. When the Fed prints money, it doesn't print money. Yeah, it just goes to a computer and just fabricates money, that they put into the system. In some cases, in the past, and maybe still now, they actually print physical dollars, but the creation of money is done on a computer, right? So being able to explain that to somebody that doesn't understand or refuses to accept what's happening is very, very difficult. And this is where the challenges come in, because, who's to say that Apple would be fair? Who's to say that Google would be fair? Would they be fair? Would they be impartial? They're putting up the money, right? I don't think that would be the case. So yeah, some things to consider. So we've been banging on for a little while. I think it's been a great session. I'm going to try to do a lot more of these kind of lives, especially now that the market's starting to get a little bit more active. Yeah, really nice run here on the old XRP. Still expecting 55. I like that. I think in one of the lives I was saying that gold was going to pop, right? 2000, I was saying. Where's gold? There it is. Did we hit 2K? Yes, we did. Beautiful. So I can tick that one off the list. Exactly $2,010 almost. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. It's nice to see gold gold pumping. Pax G, solid. What's Matic up to recently? To get a different thing. ADA. Yeah. All right, cool. So yeah, we'll leave it there. Yeah, XRP. And again, it's all charting, man. It was so obvious it was going to pop a little. So we're going to call it there. I'm going to shoot off because my son's going to be home any minute. I'm going to go and open the door for him as well. So I hope everyone has an awesome day. You'll find me in all the usual places, guys. If anybody needs me, I'm in the Discords, whatever, DM me. And with that said, I hope everyone has an awesome day. And I'll catch up with you guys, soon. Take care. Ciao.